Judge orders black female general to remove her Medal of Honor, but her next move shocks the court. Take that decoration off your chest. This is a courtroom, not a parade. Judge Thompson's voice cut through the packed chamber, sharp with the authority of nearly 3 decades on the bench. All eyes turned to the woman standing tall before him, General Patricia Washington, the first black woman in U.S. Army history to earn 3 stars. Her Medal of Honor gleamed softly against a perfectly pressed uniform. Patricia wasn't on trial. She had come voluntarily to support the family of a young soldier who gave his life saving 8 comrades, only to have his benefits challenged on a cold technicality. "Your Honor," she said, calm from 3 combat tours, "this medal isn't for show. I wear it for those who never made it home." The 61-year-old judge, who had never served a day in uniform, scowled. "My courtroom, my rules. Remove it or be escorted out." A low murmur rolled through the gallery of veterans. Patricia sensed this might happen. The pointed glances, the way the judge had lingered over her name with a bitter edge. She rested her fingers on the medal. 23 years of service, 5 Valor Awards, command of 3,000 soldiers, and now treated like a disobedient recruit by a man who'd never faced more danger than a morning commute. "With respect," she replied, her voice carrying a quiet power that made veterans in the room sit straighter, "this medal honors sacrifices you cannot imagine." Something in her unshakable poise unsettled the judge. From the back, a silver-haired veteran rose. Another followed. Within seconds, 15 stood in silent solidarity, their gaze fixed on the bench. They didn't know it, but every word and movement was already being recorded by hidden cameras. For 6 months, Patricia had been documenting patterns of bias in this very court. Today's confrontation was the moment she'd prepared for. "Security, escort her out," Thompson barked, pounding the gavel. The officer, an Iraq veteran, hesitated, meeting Patricia's eyes. "Your Honor, I'd rather not." "Do your job or find another," the judge snapped, his face red with frustration. Patricia stayed perfectly still, the quiet click of her concealed recorder capturing it all. At her side, the fallen soldier's widow whispered through tears, "Please, just take it off. I can't lose you too." Patricia placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "Some moments," she said softly, "demand that we stand firm for everyone who came before us." The courtroom held its breath. What happened next would ignite headlines and reveal the judge's long-hidden prejudice to the entire nation. Judge tries to humiliate decorated general, but she turns the tables. "Yes, sir." Patricia's voice was steady. She refused to remove the medal. "No, she isn't intimidated," someone muttered near the bench. "Maybe we should rethink this." But the voice on the other end of the judge's private call had already given the order. "Continue the public humiliation." Judge Thompson's smile widened. 27 years on the bench had taught him how to break people he considered a problem. He had developed quiet ways of putting people, especially black women, in their place without ever sounding openly biased. "Last chance," Thompson growled, leaning forward. "Take off that medal or be arrested for contempt. And don't give me speeches about heroics. I know your type." The courtroom froze. Even the attorneys stopped whispering. Veterans in the gallery clenched their fists, anger barely contained. In the second row, freelance journalist David Chun began recording on his phone, sensing history in the making. Patricia smiled, calm, almost maternal, a look that made the judge's spine tighten. She had faced hostile generals, survived ambushes, and commanded missions that saved hundreds of lives. A small-town judge was nothing new. "You're right about one thing, Your Honor," she said, her voice carrying the weight of decades of command. "You do know my type. We don't bow to anyone who abuses power to mask their own weakness." The gavel slammed across the room as Thompson shouted, "Jail!" "Contempt." At that instant, Patricia knew he'd walked straight into her plan. Every word, Every gesture was already being captured on hidden cameras and streamed to 3 civil rights groups waiting for this moment. "General, I'm sorry," said Officer Rodriguez, an Iraq veteran, as he stepped forward, hands trembling. "I understand, soldier," Patricia replied gently, offering her wrists. "You're doing your duty." Thompson watched with satisfaction. "Finally," he muttered to his aide, "someone who understands authority." He had no idea Patricia had been gathering evidence for 6 months. 23 cases where black veterans received harsher rulings than identical cases with white defendants. Every sentence, every offhand remark, every look of disdain documented and sent to retired Colonel James Mitchell, now a civil rights attorney. As the cuffs clicked shut, Patricia remembered Mitchell's words the week before. "If this judge is what you suspect, a public confrontation will be the perfect trap. Men like him always expose themselves when they think they hold all the power." Thompson stood dramatically. "Let this be an example to anyone who challenges the authority of this court. No matter how many medals you wear, I decide what happens here." The gallery remained standing in silent defiance. Patricia noticed 3 people still recording, including journalist David Chun. More importantly, she caught the soldier's widow on her phone, alerting the network Patricia had set in motion. "You may sit," Thompson barked. "The show is over." But as Patricia was led toward the holding cell, she locked eyes with an elegant silver-haired woman in the back, Dr. Rebecca Chun, one of the nation's most respected retired federal judges, and, not coincidentally, David's mother. Patricia had invited her as a silent witness whose credibility was beyond question. Rodriguez opened the cell door with visible reluctance. "General, can I get you anything? Water? A lawyer?" Patricia smiled. The real trial for Judge Thompson was only beginning. The judge thought he won, but her next move shook the entire court system. "Thank you, Rodriguez. My attorney is already on the way," Patricia said quietly. Inside the collar of her uniform, a hidden transmitter blinked green, confirming that every second of audio and video was streaming straight to Colonel Mitchell's office. 3 civil rights attorneys there already had a habeas corpus petition drafted and waiting. Back in the courtroom, Judge Thompson basked in what he thought was victory. "Did you see how I put that general in her place?" he boasted to a circle of corporate lawyers. "Authority must be respected, especially by people like her." Jennifer Walsh, the lead corporate counsel, shifted uneasily. "Judge, perhaps we should reconsider. General Washington has quite a reputation." "Reputation?" Thompson let out a loud laugh. "By the end of the day, she'll leave with her head down, and this case will be history." What he didn't know was that across town, 12 large monitors at Mitchell and Associates were broadcasting every second of the hearing. 3 national civil rights groups, 5 news outlets, and 2 members of Congress were already watching. In her holding cell, Patricia closed her eyes and remembered a conversation from 3 weeks earlier. "General, I don't know what to do," the soldier's widow had said. "They're denying my husband's benefits over a technicality. They claim his death wasn't service-related because it happened 2 days after he was discharged from the hospital." Patricia's own quiet investigation had uncovered a disturbing pattern. 28 black military families denied benefits on similar technicalities, all through Thompson's court, while identical cases for white families sailed through with automatic approval. Her plan was never about a sudden explosion. It was deliberate, precise, and impossible to stop. For months, she'd built a network of influential veterans, civil rights lawyers, investigative journalists, and even members of Congress who had long sought proof of systemic bias. 30 minutes later, Rodriguez returned. "General, your lawyer is here." Patricia smiled. "Not just my lawyer," she thought. Into the courtroom walked Mitchell, flanked by 2 investigative reporters, a federal prosecutor who had been gathering evidence for months, and Dr. Rebecca Chun, a retired federal judge whose credibility was beyond question. Thompson, still savoring what he imagined was triumph, finally looked up and saw the procession. His confidence faltered. "What kind of spectacle is this?" he demanded, trying to steady his voice. "This is a closed hearing." "Not anymore," Mitchell replied, his smile cold. "This is now a federal investigation." He gestured toward a poised woman with official recording equipment. "This is Amanda Foster from the Federal Justice Commission. We have questions about your court's practices." Color drained from the judge's face. Cameras and cell phones captured every angle. "Release General Washington immediately," ordered District Attorney Davis, flashing his badge, "and prepare to answer for 28 cases of denied benefits to black military families over the last 3 years. Thompson's jaw tightened as he realized someone had the exact numbers. His eyes darted to Jennifer Walsh, but she was already on the phone, no doubt informing her superiors that their plan had collapsed. Rodriguez hurried to unlock the handcuffs, his hands shaking with relief. Patricia stood tall, her quiet smile the only sign of victory. The judge who thought he had ended her career had just triggered the end of his own. General Washington's final move toppled the judge and reformed the entire court. "General, I'm so sorry. I didn't know what else to do," Rodriguez whispered. "You did exactly what you should, soldier," Patricia replied calmly, straightening her immaculate uniform. Her Medal of Honor still shone with quiet pride. "This is outrageous," Judge Thompson barked, his voice cracking under the strain. "She defied a direct order." "She disrespected this court." Amanda Foster stepped forward, a professional recorder in hand. "Judge Thompson, you are under federal investigation for systematic civil rights violations. Anything you say may be used as evidence." The room went silent. Thompson's eyes darted around the gallery, searching for support, and found only stares of disappointment and pity. Colonel Mitchell opened his briefcase and slid a tablet onto the bench. "General Washington has spent 6 months documenting every biased remark, every unequal sentence, every discriminatory decision in this courtroom," he said evenly. 23 hours of recordings, 87 pages of evidence, and witnesses from 17 separate cases. Thompson tried to stand, but his knees buckled. "That's entrapment." "She set me up." Patricia's voice carried the weight of decades of command. "Your Honor, I simply recorded your own words. The only trap here is the one you built with arrogance and prejudice." Foster pressed a button. Thompson's own voice echoed through the chamber. "I know the kind of people you really are. This woman doesn't know her place, no matter how many medals you wear." Each sentence tightened the air. Veterans in the gallery shook their heads. Some murmured quiet encouragement to Patricia. Congressman Williams stepped to the microphone. "On behalf of the Civil Rights Commission, I announce a full federal inquiry into this court. Every case you have ruled on in the past 5 years will be reviewed." "I've served for 27 years, Thompson blurted. "You can't destroy a career over a misunderstanding." Patricia walked to the bench, stopping inches from the man who had tried to humiliate her. "I served this nation for 23 years, defending its principles," she said evenly. "You spent 27 undermining them. Serving the public is a privilege, not a license to mistreat the vulnerable." Foster closed her recorder. "Judge Thompson, you are suspended effective immediately. A federal judge will assume your docket during the investigation." As security escorted him away, the once powerful jurist stumbled, his face flushed and defeated. Patricia stood tall, her composure unshaken. 28 military families would now receive long-denied benefits, and a corrupt courtroom had lost one of its worst offenders. Camera flashes captured the moment, but one question lingered. How many other Thompsons remained hidden in the system? And how many more would fall to patience, strategy, and a simple hidden camera? 6 months later, Patricia strode the halls of the Pentagon as the newly appointed Deputy Secretary of Veterans Affairs, her Senate confirmation unanimous after the national scandal she exposed. Her Medal of Honor gleamed brighter than ever, a symbol not just of military valor, but of civil courage. Thompson's life took a very different turn. Disbarred, disgraced, and buried under civil suits, he worked night security at a suburban mall after losing his home to pay settlements to the families he had wronged. At a national awards ceremony, Rodriguez, now chief of security for the reformed federal court, saluted her. "General, you didn't just help those families," he said. "You showed all of us what true dignity looks like." The reform sparked by Patricia's recordings reshaped the justice system. 17 judges removed, 143 cases reopened, and a new nationwide monitoring program to prevent discrimination. The fallen soldier's widow embraced Patricia, tears in her eyes. "Because of you, my husband's service is finally honored. His benefits are approved, and our daughter can pursue her dream of becoming a doctor." Patricia's Medal of Honor caught the light once more, no longer just a decoration of war, but a beacon of justice. Mitchell, now chief counsel for the newly formed National Veterans Rights Commission, stood proudly beside his former protege. "Patty," he said with a quiet smile, "you turned a moment of humiliation into a national revolution. That's real leadership." During the ceremony, Congressman Williams addressed the audience. General Washington's courage reminds us that true strength isn't about silencing injustice. It's about documenting it, exposing it, and transforming it into lasting reform. Across town, Judge Thompson watched on the flickering screen of a small apartment. His eyes burned with anger and late regret. The woman he once tried to humiliate now received the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He struggled just to pay his rent. Dr. Rebecca Chun, retired judge and eyewitness to the courtroom confrontation, now led the newly established National Judicial Monitoring Institute, created to prevent the very abuses Thompson had practiced. General Washington taught us that recording injustice is the first step toward eradicating it, she declared at the Institute's inauguration. David Chun, the journalist who captured the dramatic courtroom showdown, earned a Pulitzer Prize for his investigative series on bias in the American judiciary. In every interview, he credited Patricia as the source who made it possible. Even Jennifer Walsh, the former corporate lawyer who once stood beside Thompson, chose a new path. She left her firm and opened a practice dedicated to defending military families against discrimination. "She showed me that where you start isn't what matters," Walsh said. "What matters is where you stand when the truth is revealed." Patricia had discovered something profound during those months of quiet preparation. The best revenge isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's using that pain to create change that protects countless others. At her inauguration as Deputy Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Patricia faced the cameras. "Some people use power to humiliate the vulnerable," she said. "Others turn their own vulnerability into power to protect those who come after them. The choice has always been ours." The 28 military families once denied benefits not only received full compensation, but also the resources to rebuild their lives. Their children attended top universities, their homes were paid off, and their resilience inspired entire communities. Rodriguez, now married and the father of twins, named his daughter Patricia. "I want her to grow up knowing that dignity can't be taken from you," he said. "Only you can give it away." Meanwhile, Thompson, age 62, worked the lonely night shift as a mall security guard. His only companions were the echo of his own footsteps and the memory of a 27-year career that collapsed in 45 minutes of arrogance, captured forever on video. 6 months after the scandal, Thompson's personal life collapsed along with his career. His ex-wife filed for divorce, taking half of what little he had left. Former colleagues crossed the street to avoid him. Even the golf club canceled his lifetime membership. His fall wasn't only professional, it was social, financial, and deeply personal. Amanda Foster, the federal investigator who led the inquiry, now headed a national task force dedicated to uncovering bias in the courts. The Thompson case proved that simple technology and individual courage can dismantle decades of hidden injustice, she told reporters. Patricia's story became required reading in military academies and law schools. Students studied how one determined person armed with patience and strategy, could spark nationwide reform. During a guest lecture at Harvard, a student asked Patricia about her proudest moment. "It wasn't watching Thompson lose his seat," she said with a calm smile. "It was receiving a letter from a young black veteran who finally felt safe reporting discrimination because she knew someone would listen." Her lesson was clear. When faced with injustice, we all have a choice. Accept victimhood or transform pain into power that protects thousands. Patricia chose the second path, and the result was not mere personal vindication, but a systemic revolution that forever changed how veterans are treated in American courts. 5 years later, Thompson saw Patricia on the cover of Time magazine as Person of the Year. Only then did he grasp the scale of his mistake. He had tried to humiliate a woman for wearing a medal of sacrifice and courage without realizing he was forging an even stronger symbol of justice. In an exclusive interview, Patricia reflected, "Judge Thompson thought he was putting me in my place. Instead, he helped me find my purpose." Sometimes our greatest adversaries become our best teachers. They show us exactly who we never want to be. The corporation that once hired Jennifer Walsh to deny benefits faced a $200 million class action lawsuit. Bankrupt, its executives lost everything and never returned to the legal field. Walsh herself had long since switched sides, now representing veterans and their families. If this story of dignity, strategy, and justice resonates with you, subscribe to the channel for more true stories of people who turned their toughest defeats into extraordinary victories. Because sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply living well enough to watch those who tried to break you face the consequences of their own choices, while you build a legacy that changes the world for the better.